Welcome in, everybody. This is the Binge Empire podcast covering all of the latest and hottest TV shows out there. I am your host, Dave, joined by my fellow co-host, Luke. And in the future, we will also be joined by Bingetown Queen, Kathleen. But for now, we are just us two, and we are here to discuss the long-anticipated show release of Season 2 for Paradise, obviously covering the first 3 episodes. It is so good to be back covering this show because I have feelings for the show that were re-sparked with specifically episode 3. The first 2 episodes were good, but they were kind of reintroducing some things for us or some new characters that we needed to meet for this season to lay out the lay of the land. But episode 3, man, is where things get freaking crazy. And there's going to be a lot to theory craft. I have some wild ideas in my head of what's going on a little bit here. Obviously, no idea if they're right or wrong, but man, am I excited to break this down. Season 1, it was unanimously loved by you, me, and Kathleen in our watch, and it was only reignited when we did our, recaps of season 1 watching or, rewatching the season itself. We were super excited to get here, so I'll hand it over to Luke real quick to give his thoughts on the season so far and maybe his thoughts on season 1 as well.
Yeah, it's crazy because we were so late to the game for this show. Like we all collectively watched it months after it came out. And I think there was some weird situation with how Paradise premiered. It almost premiered twice. Like I think on a streaming exclusive. I can't remember if it was just Hulu or something. And then it also premiered again. They did a rewrap of it. But that's why it still has always been fresh on my mind because I constantly see the content online. But dude, this was fantastic. A great start to season 2. I fully understand why they had to drop all 3 episodes just to give us all of the chess pieces because now we're not isolated to one location and we have a big new character in Annie, and then we have the 2 different locations being in Arkansas and then in Colorado. So they just had so much work to do in these first 3 eps that I'm kind of happy that they did give us all this content so that we weren't watching episode 1, jumping on the podcast and be like, well, Xavier wasn't in that episode, so what the heck do we even talk about? So I think it was very strategic what they did. It's going to keep the audience engaged, and this is one of the shows that I see universally loved online. So I think that everybody's going to eat this stuff up. We are going to be covering all 3 episodes today on this podcast, so forgive us if we're going to have some quicker than normal conversations because there's just a lot of content to get through. Luckily, episode 1 of this season is going to be easy to talk about, but like you queued up, episode 3, we could probably have spent an hour and a half alone just talking through the things that happened there, getting reacclimated with the characters. But before we jump into the content from season 2, I wrote down some summary points of season 1, and I'm just going to rip through them real quickly. It's not going to cover everything, and if anything, it'll just be there to trigger more names and events for us to have in our minds as we're talking through this conversation. And if you're out there and you didn't do too much of a rewatch, hopefully this jogs some things from season 1, and it's going to have spoilers out of order for season 1 too, so it's not like how we got the information. But let me give this to you and see if it just triggers some things that maybe you didn't have enough time to re-catch up with. Okay, season 1 of Paradise. 3 years ago, a supervolcano exploded and this superheated the earth, causing the Arctics to melt, and that triggered a mega tsunami that caused an apocalypse, end of the world event. Fallout from the supervolcano ended up freezing the earth, and that's kind of what we see all throughout season 2. But the main politics going on of what the humans that survived this and prepared for this apocalyptic event had to decide was one of our main characters, Sinatra. She proposed absolutely just nuking everybody that survived to give them clean deaths. And one of our other main characters in the form of flashbacks, Cal Bradford, who is the president, decided to bypass her, set off an EMP to stop any attempts at nuking the survivors on the surface. That kind of kicks off the background of what's going on. So just to run through some of the other bullet points I had down here. Cal Bradford was murdered in the pilot under the watch of Agent Xavier Collins, who is our actual main character, kicking off the entire events of season 1. So some of the big players we have here, we have Agent Nicole Robinson, who is the mistress of Cal. We have Billy and Jane, who are other key Secret Service agents. We have Terry, who is a character that is not shown in the present in season 1. That is Xavier's wife and the mother of his 2 children, Presley and James. There is Gabby Tarabi, who is the psychologist who believes Xavier the entire time throughout the first season. believes that he's innocent, and also was a temporary hookup, so that was cool. But the important part that she played for Paradise is she was the person that selected all of the people that would be there based on their psychology. Okay, moving along, we have Sinatra, who I mentioned, Julianne Nicholson, who gives one of the best performances. We can rave about her later. She's the true leader of Paradise, despite there being a president. She's the money and the brains. She set everything up. She is who you can consider the main antagonist as well. That's also debatable. But what ends up happening throughout the season is that there are 4 scientists that are sent outside of Paradise to discover that the surface is actually livable. This ends up triggering Sinatra to protect the people in Paradise by sending Billy to kill these scientists. All that's going on. And then we have focusing on Cal Bradford, his son, Jeremy. They have such a terrible relationship because of the events of their past that gets spread out and explored through season 1. He's a rebel. That's going to be an important plot point for his character in season 2. Kane, who's Cal's sick father, off his game. Like, he used to be one of the most powerful people in the world, but then started to get sick and old. He gets taken advantage of, but he does have all the secret access that leads to the catalyst of Cal finding out more deeper secrets, eventually leading to Cal's death. Some other things I have here are that Xavier and Robinson are the head of the rebellion that are riding for Cal. They end up throughout the season teaming up together. They eventually use the weapons case to go corner Sinatra and get the real truth out there. And this is around the time that Xavier finds out that Terry is still alive. This is a huge deal for him because that's like his driving force of what he wants to do all through season 2. They sidestep away from the main plot to get one of my favorite explorations of like a side character that changed the entire purpose of season 1, and that is the character of Trent, who was, if you remember, in the flashback of building the city of Paradise. Trent was in charge of the workers that were being sent to what he found out was their death. There was no way of them escaping the poisons that they were digging out to set up this city. That sends him on this huge trajectory to just stop the Paradise Initiative, and he eventually takes it upon himself to go and shoot Cal and assassinate the president. That's when Xavier steps in front of him, takes the bullet for Cal, and causes this domino effect that Cal begins to trust Xavier and bring him into his close personal friends. All of that happens. Trent gets sent to jail, but then as the apocalypse occurs, he breaks out of jail and then kills 2 of the people that were meant to go to Paradise so he can infiltrate Paradise and then enact his revenge. An insanely cool second, almost third act twist that happened for Paradise that set everything up. And then the last 3 things I've written down are of important character moments, which is the psychopath that we know and potentially love, Jane, shoots Sinatra to protect her identity and keep everything going of her being the double agent that has been compromising everybody, including Billy Pace, RIP to a homie. And then this is also around the time where Jeremy listens to Cal's burned CD that makes him understand what his father was going through and gets him back on the good guy's side. So now Jeremy's path, what I think is going to happen in season 2 is making Paradise better, just like his father always wanted. And then the season ends with Xavier finally enacting his plan of leaving, taking a plane to go search for his wife. So that is season 1. How did I do?
Beautiful, beautiful. Couldn't have done it any better.
Okay, that's good. So before we jump into season 2, the last thing I want off, I mean, I guess now that you have the knowledge of the first 3 episodes, this opinion might be tainted, but could you tell me your top 3 favorite characters?
Immediately Sinatra comes to my mind. I don't know if I'm willing to put her at 1, but she is definitely up there. Even in death, post-mortem, I have to put Billy in there. I loved his character development from, we get the backstory of him killing the scientists. He, above ground in the past, was not a great human being. If we even get that more explored in this season, and to see him kind of want to change his life and be a good person and someone that Xavier, who we all also obviously love, to have that trust with a character that we like as well, that just goes a long way. So Billy, I really enjoyed as well. And then Jane, I if this doesn't say what I love about the villains, man, in this show, I think they are all really well done. The Jane reveal was something I never saw coming, and Sinatra's been so consistent. So 2 of my top 3 have got to be villains at this point, which is crazy to say. Xavier is obviously a candidate as well, but I just wanted to kind of mix it up and not throw the main character in there. So we're going a little off there.
We're so similar. Sinatra, Billy Pace, and Cal are actually my three favorites
I
with
love
Xavier.
Cal.
Yeah,
Love
Cal
Cal.
Cal is fantastic, and I'm really happy we got more flashback scenes, and I hope they keep using him. Shout out to Cyclops. Also, Xavier for me landed at 4, and then Jane at 5. So either we're kind of like minded there of who we're gravitating towards. So that's good. I'm sure Kathleen will have a wildly different take
Yes.
on who she likes. I have no idea if Kathleen absolutely hates Sinatra's guts or loves her because of the power player that she is and the
Right.
performance that she gives, because that's the reason I like her. I think she's so damn compelling. And something I realized when I was watching this season, look for this if you haven't clocked it. I think that she sort of reminds me of Killian Murphy, both in how she physically looks with like all of the freckles, and then also just like her cold-blooded confidence and death stare that she gives. She kind of exudes this sense of just calm all the
Okay.
time, like she has the plan going on. I see so many similarities between Killian Murphy as Tommy Shelby and Sinatra, and maybe that's why I like her so much, but she is the driving force of this show for me, of why I love it so much, and you're going to hear me gas her up and when we go through all of episode 3. So with that being said, I think we can jump right into season 2, episode 1, Graceland. And there's a lot to talk about, of course. We're going to be going through 3 episodes of television, but I think this episode should be the most streamlined. We'll take it in little groups of buckets here and we'll just wing it, right? So we get introduced to Annie, who is in Tennessee, in the titular part of the episode being Graceland, where Elvis's house was. That's a key theme for her character, and these first 2 episodes are going to be centered around this area. Shout out to Shailene Woodley too. I had no idea that she was going to be in the show. I don't know how much you know about her. She's not like an A-lister, but she is Triss from Divergent, and that was always like a hit
Oh, okay.
home book series for me when we were growing up. So I loved her in those movies. But she's a big actor. I mean, I am pretty shocked that they got her to be this, but it seems like she's got a part to play, and she might stick around for multiple seasons if we go that way.
For Annie's backstory, I honestly, when we saw the start of it with the young girl, I really honestly thought we were getting into Sinatra for some reason. Like I thought we were
Yeah.
getting right into her. She gets a little bit older. I was surprised to see that it wasn't Sinatra. And this was a little interesting. This wasn't something I expected. And kind of like what you said at the start of the podcast, I'm glad they grouped this in 3 episodes, because if this was like the only episode that came out and then we had to wait a week, I would have been just like really disappointed, I think.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
But I think looping them all together, looking back, this is a great setup for the season.
They did some decent world building throughout this episode. I think Link is going to be a big character. That's more to come later,
Yes.
but the important part of Annie's backstory is that she has medical knowledge. And in an apocalypse, that's always invaluable, like one of the most important traits you could have. She has a lot of anxiety and PTSD connected to her mom as a backstory, which is why it didn't work out that she became a doctor. But lucky for her, it landed her in Elvis's bunker house, and she sets off on her day one adventure with Gail. That was an interesting couple of time skips seeing what was happening there. Not a lot she could really do, but it kind of reminded me of The Last of Us in a way. I know we didn't get any zombies, but we got to almost see like a day one of a zombie apocalypse event, because we saw the tsunamis on the TV, we saw the weather changing and turning, and we saw how this affected Gail and Annie, right? Like they're burning through all their fuel and all this. It was just a nightmare scenario. And I think they did a really good job of showing what it would have looked like if you stayed up on the surface. Like your only shot of living was you had to be inland. You could not be anywhere near the oceans. Otherwise, you were screwed, like we saw from the New York clips from last episode or last season. So I think they did a great job of setting the atmosphere. Is there anything else you want to bring up from the first, I think, 46 days before they skip ahead to 689 days later?
No, just emphasizing the fact that I think agreed that they did a really good job with portraying the disaster and kind of with the time skips, because I was feeling the fear. Like when they go outside for the first time and you see the clouds forming and the water start to rise a little bit in the streets of Tennessee, it was pretty horrifying. I mean, the one like complaint I had of it all is that it felt like Graceland would have been like totally a hot spot for people to loot. So them being there felt like it would have just immediately drawn attention anyway. Like, Elvis Presley lived in this house. He probably has some valuables. So it felt like there should have been more like more interactions with bad people, maybe. But I know they
Mhm.
don't have enough time for that. But that was maybe just one complaint that I had. Overall, though, the realistic part of it all, of how it felt, was terrifying. I was truly feeling everything that they were going through, especially when Gail is succumbing to the infection of her leg injury. It's like, dude, this would be the worst situation. Then it's like
Yeah.
freezing cold outside. Temperatures are dropping sub-zero. You know, they have blankets upon blankets on it. It's not doing anything. And it was horrifying to watch. These first two episodes were pretty dark for
Oh,
being
yeah.
slow episodes.
Yeah, and it was good that we got to see Annie deal with this because it really characterized her. She's
Yes.
caring, but at the same
Mhm.
time, she's independent and she's not trusting, and that happens with multiple scenarios here where this new group of scavengers show up. They're looking for mechanical parts because, as we know, the EMP fried all of their circuits, basically. So this is such a good introduction to a new group of people too that I assumed were going to be way darker and way
Oh
more
yeah.
evil. I'm
Oh.
kind of happy that they subverted that expectation because let's talk about it. Our big new character Link, and I
Yes.
love that he's actually named after Zelda too. Because of course, as us
Mhm.
being nerds, that's the only thing I'm thinking about the whole time. I really love that name, and I think that Link is a great character. I feel bad for him, but he definitely has more of a part to play. He drops a bunch of knowledge throughout these scenes that we get with him. He's a nice person. He cares for her. They have a connection. So if she sticks around in the story, I'm sure he will as well. So just tell me what your initial thoughts are on Link and where you think his storyline's going.
He was an emotional roller coaster for me, because it was like they first show up, and I'm kind of putting myself in her shoes, and it is kind of messed up that you're in a defense first mindset when it's an apocalypse. Like, you see these people busting in through the gates. I was thinking the same thing of her. Like, you got to hide. You can't trust anyone. Just being, I guess, maybe a pessimist, and a little bit of pessimistic in me. Like, I'm not trusting
Hmm.
these people to be good people. So 100%, I'm thinking things are going to be about to get real dark. She's a female, or Last of Us gets pretty dark like that. So I was 100% going to the dark part. I'm super glad that they ended up being nice people for the
Hmm.
most part. They have questionable motives that we can get into a little bit more, but overall, so I thought Link was bad. You know, they first bust in, not liking him. Then we had the breakfast scene. Okay, liking Link a little bit more, liking him a little more. Then we get that sketchy scene of him and, I don't know, the older gentleman's name,
Geiger.
who they're talking about what their actual plans are, and they have to find this woman. And obviously, when Annie shows up, they kind of start hiding the paper a little bit, the maps. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, maybe he is sketchy.
Hmm.
And I still think he has good intentions, so I'm not willing to put him as a bad guy. And with a show like this, I think we're going to start getting to a point where things are going to get really gray. Like season one, it was like, okay, Sinatra, totally bad, you know, Xavier, good. But I think we're seeing that it's not that simple, as it shouldn't be in a post-apocalyptic war. So
Hmm.
I'm super excited for Link's story. The one thing that was obviously really stand out for us as viewers was the nosebleeds. I think he had two of them in the time that he was with Annie. And then the second one being when he actually leaves and is like visibly angry and frustrated, which almost didn't feel like him. Like, it felt like something was like compelling him to get angry, almost, in a sense. Um, but again, it could just be the pressure of their plans are, they need to get their plans moving, and he just really wanted Andy to join. So it could have just been that, but it felt like he was almost a different person when he was saying goodbye.
Hmm.
And it was really interesting, though. I think Link is certainly going to be a very important character. It's funny, though. I texted Luke and Kathleen in our group chat because about 30 minutes into this episode, everything is just like so happy. You know, they're throwing the football around, they're just having these wild boar bacon meals all the time. And I'm like, this Link guy, I've seen enough anime to know this Link guy's getting fucking killed here in a second, but he obviously isn't going to have a little bit more of an important role than just being fodder. So that was where
Hmm.
my mind was at with Link. Overall, I'm excited to see him. He's definitely going to appear at some point later this season.
So the two things that I found by far the most confusing, where I think it might be my fault as a viewer. So like if you're gonna hear this and think I'm a terrible TV watcher, take it how you want. I just have no idea what's going on with them. And the first one you already touched on there is the nosebleeds. it almost could have been the symptoms of the concussion, but I don't remember the timing of when he got
Yeah.
the first hit versus the first nosebleed, because that's what my girlfriend thought. She was like, "Oh, it's just like he just got hit." But
Mhm.
it felt more than that, because the reason I'm bringing this up now is because I also want to connect it to the second thing that really confused me, that I felt like I was missing some information, is in, I think it's the second episode, the Mayday episode, with where it's focused on Xavier. He starts having hallucinations and concussive symptoms and actually flashes to seeing Link at the
Yes.
end of episode 2. So like, are these moments of deliriousness connected? Am I forgetting something? Is that a scene that we're going to see in the future where they show that Xavier ran into Link before he left for Terry? It almost seems like, I don't know if those two things are connected or not, but
Am I opening this can of worms right now?
maybe not. Maybe, do you want to talk about it now? Go ahead.
This is going to be crazy, but I think we're heading down a time travel multiverse path, and I'm
Okay.
excited for it personally. I know that in this day and age, there is a lot of multiverse and time traveling stories out there, and maybe not a lot of them are hitting like they're supposed to. Marvel, and I don't know. I think we are totally heading down time travel, and I can get into it a little bit more because I think in episode 2 there'll be an important scene that I can tie it all together. But I just want you to think time travel in regards to the nosebleeds itself. Though I don't know what the connection is, but I think what Xavier was seeing in what you were referencing with how he was visioning seeing Link, I think that was a vision of the future that he was having, or event that is
Hmm.
going to play out eventually.
I think you're
So,
you're brainwashed by dark.
dude, I know, and it's crazy because I feel like normally I wouldn't be like too excited. It's like, oh, we're getting to this, time travel multiverse shit. But dude, I think it could work with Paradise, and it could be real crazy. And I'm excited if we do go down that path.
As of this moment, I'm not buying what you're selling, but you can convince me, and maybe that'll be our tinfoil
I
theory
think
of
by
the
the end of
episode.
this
So,
episode, you are
yeah.
going to be on my side. I think I'll be able
Okay.
to swing you a little bit.
I love the idea of that paying off. I just, that didn't even a little bit cross my mind. So we'll see what you got to say
It's going
as
to
we
be in
get deeper
episode
into
2.
it.
I'll break it down a
Yeah.
little bit more in episode 2, but I'm excited to talk.
Sounds good. All right. So back to like the crew showing up at Graceland. They do give us some good world building information that I just like to point out just as facts of what's going on in Paradise. They say that what they're doing is going around shutting down the nuclear power plants around the country. There's 94 of them.
Genius.
That makes sense because if you fry the circuits, it'll melt down and make the entire country radioactive. So I like that little piece of it. Then
Genius.
they go on
Genius.
to say that what they found out about what happened with the super volcano is that the cloud ended up cooling the entire world by about 20 degrees. That's why we saw them struggling so
Mhm.
much before the time skip that led to when the sun actually started peeking through again. That's cool. And then the last thing that they said, I don't know how they got these numbers or calculated them, but they said that essentially 67% of humanity was wiped
Mhm.
out from the event, 40% straight up just from the water living on the coast. It drowned them all. And then 27% of people died just from normal apocalyptic food shortages and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So that's my only defense in saying of why we didn't see Annie dealing with more invaders, is because literally only 1/3 of the world is left,
That's fair.
and how many are actually in Tennessee versus how many would know that that exists. So like, you can start convincing me with the numbers that he gave in this episode that is kind of believable. But that aside, I just like that little bit of world building because we didn't get that in season 1.
I also like how the one guy theorized that someone dropped an EMP that was large enough to wipe out all
Yeah,
electronics, and that's like actually what
nailed it.
happened. So they got really lucky with their group of guys because it feels like they are all super smart, or at least capable in their own ways. I just immediately am now thinking of One Piece, like it's just the Straw Hats. They all have their own different
Yeah.
specialties, and they're a perfect team for each other. And agreed, I love that they took it on themselves. I don't know if they're actually doing it or not because we know that they have other plans, but the fact that they least use the front of we're going to go around shutting down these nuclear reactors, I thought that was like
Mhm.
something that has never been mentioned in like a post-apocalyptic era ever in anything that I've watched. So that was like something that's like, oh shit, that's really cool realism right there.
Dark mentions it, but that's,
But I mean,
one
that's like
show.
the whole point of
I
the
know, I know,
show
I
is
know, I know.
built around
Yeah.
that.
Let's talk about the plans that we overhear, which becomes like the truth of what this group's main objective is, which is they talk about it throughout the dinner scenes, throughout the night scenes, like everything. And he gets the full story, eavesdropping at one point. They're looking for someone specifically. They find out, or we find out as the audience later, the name of this person, because what we hear Geiger say is that we got to go kill Alex.
Which means nothing to us in episode one.
Yet
It should
nothing at the time, which
yes.
that is going to be a full conversation that we need to have, because that is so confusing to me, but
Oh,
I love
episode
that
three,
drop.
man.
Yeah.
Episode three
Episode
was
3 was
great.
fantastic. I guess I'll just open the floor to anything you want to bring up character relationship wise when Annie and Link have their night together. They're talking about the stars, they're talking about the bad pockets, which is good world building, and then they're just talking about the plans to head west. Like, is there anything you want to bring up between them before we really get to when they decide that they're leaving?
I didn't have any comments on there. I mean, again, it was the nosebleeds, and I think there was something about like thyroid medication being brought up, and he was like, "Yeah, it was something super sketchy." She was like, "You only take this if you need
No,
have this
it was iodine, because that's what people say you take to remove the
deradiate."
radiation from you. But it does. She says like that wouldn't work if that was like a true nuke
But
or
then he
anything. Like,
counters by saying, "We know." So it's like, okay, then why are you actually taking it if you know it's not for deradiation? I don't know. So that was a little weird, but I think it has maybe something to do with the nosebleeds that he was having as well. So I think
mhm.
personally, nothing too much to take away here. But yeah, I like the deep spot pockets of space. I think again that like is kind of to me with this theory of like multiverse and like time travel. It's like opening the idea of like there are other places out there almost. It's like we're talking about these different not realities, but we'll see.
Okay. And they have their romantic night. I love this for them. They needed some type of happiness after 2-3 years of apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
When they're pillow talking, though, they start discussing the Paradise Bunker. Like, they're aware that in Colorado that they think that there's something that they need to get to. And what Link ends up saying is that there's something so dangerous in there that they have to stop. So combine that and marry it with the idea that they have to kill Alex. That's like the base of all the theory crafting we can really do with this character. And
Mm-hmm.
there is some stuff there, but it's not a lot. I'm thinking that the something so dangerous is just whatever Sinatra is rerouting all the power towards, because it could be another bomb, it could be some sort of technology that's going to wipe out any remaining people up top,
Time
so that they,
machine.
I mean, it could be a time machine, but I'm still not buying it. I do love the idea. I mean, if you tell me that that's what the reveal is, holy shit, that would be
Dude, I'm
so
telling you, once we
crazy.
get to episode 3, you're going to be bought and sold on this.
Okay. I mean, that's like, play us out for episode 1 then. Like, after Link decides to leave, I really thought she was going to go with them before the
Yes.
morning of. Like, I was like, okay, she's going to go with them and they're going to all get murdered in some gruesome way and she's going to be
Yes.
by herself. I did not think she was going to just resist and then stay there.
I was a little shocked. Was it just because she maybe just didn't fully trust them, or she was, maybe it's because of her past, how she's been so used to being like alone and isolated. She didn't feel comfortable leaving. I was a little confused on why she didn't go, because her and Link clearly hit it off very well. And I
Yeah,
was I was kind of shocked to see that she stayed back. And obviously the bigger reveal being that she was pregnant.
dude, wild.
I was not ready for that. I think that's a great addition to the storyline that could just add another layer of intrigue for the viewers.
I would be so upset if that happened to me in an apocalypse. I don't even like,
Yeah.
what is she going to do? She has to leave. I can't believe she didn't leave earlier, because what is she going to do? Give birth by herself there? It works out because she sees Xavier's crash site, and that's what the episode ends on, is she crosses into the bad, or close to the bad pocket, finds him on the ground, then that kicks off episode 2. But I think Xavier falling is like her biggest saving grace, because what the hell would she have done in that house alone giving birth?
Oh, die. I mean, realistically,
Literally.
it's so bad. But good to see our boy Xavier enter the scene here, because now we have confirmation that he is on the surface.
Yeah, I mean, are we ready to just jump right into episode 2?
2, we got to push to 3, man. It's just all we got to do.
So episode 2, titled Mayday, is going to be a Xavier-centric episode. We, of course, needed this. He deserves all the screen time. I thought this would have been the pilot, but luckily we're introduced to another big player in Annie. But their paths are put on the same trajectory, and we get to see how Xavier ended up where he was at the end of episode 1. I somehow forgot, because it's been a couple months since I've watched the show for the first time. But Sterling K. Brown he
I
deserves
love him.
all of the awards. He deserves to be as A-list as any actor I know. Like, he is such a scene stealer. I just can't get over how good of an actor he is.
That's our Dr. Langstrom, baby. We freaking love Sterling K. Brown here. And season one only established that for me, where Sterling K. Brown should just be, he's so underrated as an actor. He deserves all of the love and credit that he's getting, because I agree. Scene stealer. Anytime he is on the screen, I know it's going to be an intense moment. I know something's coming, and I want it all.
Mm-hmm. And this is just a random fun fact that most people won't care about, but Brooklyn Nine-Nine, he's a guest actor on one episode of the entire show, and it is the highest rated episode of the series. So that's cool. It's
It's
when,
definitely one of my favorite episodes
it
for
totally
sure.
is. He's fantastic in that. And it was funny because I was watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine through for the first time, coincidentally, as I was watching Paradise. So when I flicked that episode on, I was like, holy shit, what are the chances of that? It all
Like
worked out.
opposite role a little bit, just like a more
Yeah,
comedic role. So it's just showing his range, showing his range.
for sure. So how I would like to break up episode 2, because it is bucketed more
Mhm.
cleanly for us to talk about. Let's just go through the entire flashback of everything we get with him and his initial knee injury, which has a crazy payoff in the modern day, and then everything to do with Terry, where I thought this was fantastic character relationship building. We get to see Xavier in his prime, like he's about to set records for the Secret Service agency physicals. That's awesome. Like, he's the man, and he ends up busting his knee, which triggers him to be in the hospital bed next to where Terry was also dealing with her own injuries. Did not see the storyline building like it did, but she pretty much is exactly the type of woman that I think is just can go bar for bar with Xavier, right? Like, she's very, very intelligent. She seems super competent. She was studying for her doctorate there. She is like a strong person, and I just feel like she's such a good match for him in this world. And clearly, it ends up with them being happy together and having 2 kids, and he loves her so much that he's willing to cross apocalyptic America. This was just a fantastic flashback that really gave us everything we needed to know about these two.
1,000%. I am not one to like care usually for the developing love stories or whatever, but this was really well done and very done in like a cute way that even I was like, "Whole like this is just a match made in heaven with them two." Like, I like how the
Mhm.
nurse even too was like, "She's out of your league" at the beginning. Like, what are you even trying to do? But Xavier's just that kind of guy that once he sees something, he wants it and he'll chase after it no matter what. And to see the motivation of, not motivation, but the dedication to staying by her side through this horrible event that I also did not see coming at all. I was honestly in my head thinking like, is she
Me
blind?
too.
Does
Me
she
too. I
get
was like, did we
recover from
miss
this?
that in season 1? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was intense for us as viewers because I'm pretty sure it was never clarified for us in season one. So having us also go through that and making her trust him, saying like, "I know your eyesight's going to come back," and us not knowing if it actually is like it was really powerful. We had to put our faith in him too in that moment. It almost felt like,
Mhm.
like we have to trust him to believe that it's going to work out. And when she actually like starts to see a little bit and she's like, "This is what you've been doing all this time," it's like, fuck, like you're getting me a little bit in my feels here.
I got
I'm in my,
chills.
so
Yeah.
it was beautiful. But all of that to say, I was not looking forward to seeing the knee injury come back into play in modern time. Like,
Mhm.
for the first time, when he's about to adjust it back into place, I was gonna get sick. I think I was like,
Well,
they
thank
better
God this
not show it.
happened, because he
Yeah.
probably would have went the way of Gale, where he would have eventually gotten infected and he died. But last thing
Mm.
I'll say on the flashback, and we could just jump to right what you were talking about there, is I love seeing Xavier in like his flirty mode when he's like, hot
Yeah.
guy, huh? Like, he's just so
I'm gonna need your
it's
number or
fun.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah. That was such a good line. I laughed out loud when he
Oh,
said
yeah,
that.
it was
But
so
yeah.
classic.
I'm excited to hear Kathleen's take on that whole backstory. She probably is going to love every second of how they
I
built
think
that
so too.
relationship. Yeah. But as you kind of laid out there, I think we're making decent time. We're already jumping back into modern day for Xavier.
Mhm.
Every lesson he learned from that surgery and how to fix himself comes into play here, because he has a bad knee. Clearly, he re injures it upon the crash. I always get like my blood boils when you hear like knee things like that, and he's gonna do it himself. It's like in Castaway when he has to take out his own tooth, like oh, all that stuff. I would be
You
so
could
easy to
see
just
his
die.
knee, like, it was his kneecap was, like,
Yeah.
visibly popping out to show the viewers,
Oh,
and I was like, "If they are gonna physically make us watch him put that back into place, I will be sick."
yeah. And he was about to do it, which would have sucked because there were raiders around that probably would have found him and hurt him and
Mhm.
potentially just killed him and stole everything from him. But he runs into the band of kids. This is Daniel's introduction, who helps him survive this night, gets him to the boat, and he ends up meeting all the kids that are there. So like this is, I don't know, a little tropey, but I liked what it showed us. We got some more lay of the land information from Daniel. The whole dynamic of a group of kids surviving is crazy. If you didn't clock it too, there was the mention that they were all on the same team. Their tournament bus crashed. It just reminded me of Yellow Jackets, like straight up.
Yeah. D
Yeah.
I my only note for the kid's backstory is there was no need to have this be so depressing. Like, group
Yeah.
of kids just tour bus crashes, they're like, "Where's your mom and dad?" Didn't make it. Just
Hmm.
no need for us to get this depressing, but you're right, it does build the world out. It just shows how tragic it was, and I'm fresh off the recording for Fallout, so a lot excuse me if I make a lot of Fallout comparisons, but, as we're getting into this, like, it's just I have those comparisons. We're in this post-apocalyptic world where people are just fighting to survive, and whether you're a kid or not, it doesn't matter to others, and it's sad, man. It was horrifying to watch. I hated every second of seeing these kids and knowing what they went through.
Hmm.
And even in the end, it was just so fucked up if you want to get into it with the guard or like the guy, just so messed up.
Yeah, I mean, the sad thing about this whole thing is that Xavier is such a good guy that he, after one night of being with these kids, is like, after we save Terry, I will bring you guys all back to
Mhm.
paradise. I will make sure that you're safe. I can't believe they didn't hang on to that and help him. I really thought they were going to stick around and be like allies for him, but we knew that couldn't be the case because of the end of episode one. So, what you're referring to there is, of course, when he goes outside, he's limping around because he fixed his knee. That was painful to hear, but I love that they timed it with the lightning. That was very,
Yeah.
similar to the Stranger Things plot point that happened in season 5. But yeah, just like you said, this raider pops out, they get in a fight. I couldn't imagine him putting weight on his knee as he's in this fight, but that was terrible. He ends up killing this guy, but he gets stabbed.
My mind was just thinking the adrenaline coursing through his veins, just that's the only thing that is preventing him from feeling anything because he knows that if he feels that pain, he will die from this raider. We've all been in those moments where it's just you're hurting, but like you don't know really. You're just you got all
Mhm,
that blood pumping. This was great, and he does take him out, which I thought was going to have more like immediate consequences, like in terms of there were two raiders originally when we see them, so I wasn't sure if the second raider was going to come out and kind of start making an appearance. But the messed up part of this all was the kids just knowingly going to the body to just start burying him. It was just
mhm.
I just don't understand. It was just so no need for it to be so depressing. This storyline, there's no need,
Well, luckily they hooked him up because Xavier passes out after he looks down and sees he's bleeding. They patch him up, but unfortunately they leave. And
and take his
they take
stuff
his
too.
they take his map, they take the book, they take everything except for the picture of his kids, which comes into play with Annie later because she uses his blackmail almost at the end of this episode. But everything is rock bottom for Xavier. He has no way to limp his way across all the way to Atlanta, Georgia, when they're 2 states away in Arkansas at the moment. So it's such a, I guess, both good and bad thing that Annie finds him because she finds him, brings him back to Elvis's compound, and then says that you're taking me to Colorado. I don't care what we don't care about your wife anymore. And he looks down, he's handcuffed. I did not expect that at all, man. And there's just no way that he's going to have gotten this far and he's just going to turn around before dealing with Terry in some way, right? Like, is that what you're thinking? Do you think he's going to convince her or do you think he's going to have to break away from her?
He's not going back to Colorado. There's no fucking way we're having him come out just to go right back to Colorado. How he gets away or how he convinces her, I'm not entirely sure. Again, we saw Annie, for the most part, be a good person. She seems pretty sympathetic. And again, she has real medical knowledge. So I think Xavier is going to be able to sweet talk her into being like, let's just let's just go this way
chill.
real quick.
Yeah,
Let's just not go
they're
to
so
Colorado.
close, like where
I
they are compared to going all the way back to Colorado without a plane.
It's like, hey, can we just make a quick pit stop and then sure, I'll take you back to Colorado. You can do whatever the heck you want with whatever you want, you know?
Yeah, yeah. But passing it over to you, this is also where we get when he comes to the X, that is, he's seeing the visions of Link. And this to me, I was like, what am I watching right now? I have no idea why this is
Yeah.
connected.
In episode 2 wasn't a clear picture for me either. I was just not sure if Link at this point was someone that he had met in the past coincidentally or if this was something in the future. But it was really confusing. But it's these kinds of quick moments in shows like this that are like, I need to keep watching to figure out what this all means. And
Could
it's
add up to
perfect.
something big. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
But that pretty much gets us through episode 2. Any thoughts before we get to the meat of these 3?
Give me the meat, baby. I'm a
Okay.
carnivore.
So we're now going to discuss season 2, episode 3, Another Day in Paradise. Also a great song name. There is a lot more scene jumping in this grouping because there's so many characters that we're catching up with. So we'll try and make this as concise as possible. Forgive me if we're jumping all over the place. I tried to group things where I could, but let's just start with the flashback scene where we get the
Mm.
origins of Paradise talked about again through the eyes of Sinatra meeting with the doomsayer scientists at the bar, because they talk about everything. I kind of talked about this at the top of the podcast as well, where they re-go over the global tsunami and the super volcano and what that means. But I love that he gets into what will happen after that, which is the superheating because of the runaway greenhouse gas effect. All of that's yet to come, and how the air is eventually going to thicken so much that oceans are going to evaporate. And then if you're still alive at that point, which you probably won't be, the pressure is going to destroy you. Just great horror porn, basically. Like this is just exactly what you want to look for in an apocalyptic show.
100%. The Venus syndrome, I believe he called it, was
Yep.
super interesting to hear about because at the point in where Annie is, yes, things may seem dandy, but that's just only the beginning. So he painted a very graphic picture and it clearly puts all of us on a timer. And this is where the theory starts to unfold. The first thing saying, what is the one thing that billionaires can't buy? Time.
Time, baby. Okay, I
Sinatra is
like it.
that kind of woman that is not going to just sit back and fucking bite the dust. She is putting all that fucking power into something that is going to allow her to go back in time and prevent or try to prevent the volcano from even erupting in the first. I don't even know if that's possible, but at least we're in ground space 1 with time being mentioned. Personally, when I first heard this, I didn't honestly take too much away from it. Like I didn't think of this time quote as meaning like we're heading on a time traveling path. I think it's just kind of a culmination of things as I reflected on the episodes where it kind of started screaming out to me as a potential outcome. But this quote, looking back, is like, I think we are heading down this path because Sinatra is just the kind of woman that is not going to back down from a challenge. And I feel like the way he says, what's the one thing you can't buy? Time, she's like taking that as like a challenge almost. Like, I'll show you, like, I will certainly be able to buy time for us, you know, is how I almost took it. So this is step number 1 in the theory. This is a little tip of the iceberg.
That little bit right there just changed my opinion from 0% to more than
Yeah, I knew it.
0%.
I
That
knew if
was that
this,
was genius, because what would take that amount of power that you would reroute all of your excess energy, which you would need in case anything went wrong? What would be worth that risk? And connecting it to the time. Oh my God, dude, I love it because
and I got
I didn't
another,
even think about the idea of that. Like you're saying, we're now on a timeline where who knows if the pressure above and the moisture evaporation means that Paradise can't even survive underneath, that you need to figure this out soon. I love it. Okay, I'm officially listening.
my second piece of evidence will come later. It's a little bit more gray because I don't really even understand it all that much, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there.
Okay. No,
It's honestly pretty
I'm
soon.
loving this. You
Hmm.
are starting to convince me, is what I will say. Okay. Now we're gonna go through us the next grouping of flashbacks, which is just everything else that we get in the form of a Sinatra flashback here, all centered around Billy, right? Which I
Awesome.
couldn't be happier that they found
Yeah.
a way to get this actor back in the show. I didn't know how much they were going to add to his backstory. They could have told it in words, but the fact that we got all these additional scenes, I loved it. So This is a flashback to 9 years ago, and we're seeing Cal just after he got elected president. They're at this time already. Sinatra is already worrying about the bunker being going too slow. Then what ends up happening is she talks to Cal's dad, who's an asshole, but he is like a very competent, powerful asshole. And this is what you're mentioning now, right? Like they're talking about what needs to be done in order to make this happen. And there's a technology that they absolutely need to make sure that the bunker survives, but the developer of the technology is refusing to sell it. That's such a obstacle for her, because if this doesn't happen, she can't convince the world that the world's going to end without panicking everybody, but she needs this, otherwise everybody's going to die. So this was great, and then it ends up leading to Cal's dad having like a really badass line of just saying like, I think it's about time I introduced you to a different kind of person. And I didn't
Yeah.
even in my head connect the dots right away that it was Billy, because I was just so mesmerized by the show that we're getting here, and I binged all three of these episodes back to back to back. I was like, wow,
Mhm.
duh, it had to be Billy. She needed to get him on her side because he is her lapdog even in season one, like doing her bidding.
How about this first interaction between Billy and Sinatra? Oh, I was dying, man. This shit was so funny with Billy just like looking over constantly, just having to correct her on how to properly, what's the proper etiquette for how to put in a hit on someone, you
Mhm.
know? Like
Yeah.
it was so good because we know now that in today's time that Sinatra is a cold-blooded bitch and is just not afraid to just put a hit out there and release the target. This was amazing. And yeah, Cal's father is just, we knew that he was an ass, but man, I think he's just even more of a horrible person than we believe him to be, because obviously he's got all these connections. Like he's the one that
Mhm.
set this all up. So I loved seeing Billy here. Yeah, I honestly wasn't expecting to see him. And this was just
Yeah.
a great surprise for me because he is more important in this. In my theory of all this with time travel, like I think Billy is pretty important for all
Oh,
this.
he's coming back if time travel's real, baby. He's gonna
I
be right
hope
there, which
so.
is awesome. My last thing I want to just mention real quick, because I am also rewatching Succession at the moment, and Cal's dad is just Logan Roy, the head of the
Oh,
Succession
okay.
family, so to a T, like such an asshole, but like one of the most powerful people in the world. So that's just the vibes he's given. But let's keep going with what you're talking about. Like Billy meets Sinatra. Sinatra gives Billy the hit on the scientist, and he ends up in the bar talking to him. Who, shout out to this actor too, Patrick Fischler is his name. He's been in a little bit of Mad Men. It's like everything. Like he's been a side character in Silicon Valley. He's
Okay.
been a side character in Suits. He's been in Mob
Okay.
City. Like he's just one of those guys that gets cast in almost everything. He was on Veep. He was on Scandal. Like he's just been in a million things. Criminal Minds for an episode. Like he's just one of those guys that you just hire all around. So I knew who he was, like when I saw him,
Mhm.
or I recognized him at least. But he does a great job in his few scenes that he ends up getting here. I felt bad for him at the bar because he was just getting played by Billy, but then it turns into a fantastic scene that he invites him back to his house because he did mention things about his dying wife, or his wife, of why they weren't having kids, which you find out that is because she's dying of Huntington's disease. And that's like the core of who he is as a person, and why he didn't have kids, and why he puts all of his trust in the new young scientist that is his protege, and part of the reason that they invented this new technology, which at some point he mentioned quantum entanglement, and that has some legs to stand on for the time travel. I don't know.
From what I know from Marvel,
Yeah.
quantum means multiverse. You
Yeah.
know, that's what I'm taking it as.
Quantum entanglement is just the idea that atoms can be connected across distances, which doesn't,
Multiverse.
yeah, I don't know how that really plays into this, but it's just the part of the technology that I'm sure they're going to explore more and more. But to me, I was jaw on the floor when he introduced his wife as Alex, because this is who Link and his group are looking to kill. So to me, that implies that she is alive, because we get that confirmation in the modern day by Sinatra, who has her house made like caring for Alex.
Mhm.
But why and how? It's
See,
so confusing.
this is why it's going to be a multiverse thing. If I were to lean one way, I'm going to lean multiverse, not time travel, because to stop a volcano using time travel seems pretty crazy. Like, okay, sure, you can go back in time, but what are you going to actually do to stop a volcano? Whereas a multiverse, it's like we can move ourselves to a different multiverse that never even had this volcano in the first place, and we can just live there. Absolutely, where things are just fucking crazy, because you're absolutely right. The wife's name is Alex. So, first time I hear it, confirmation, I think, okay, wife's name is Alex. I also went back and I watched it, but I also kind of took it as Alex being potentially the son, the son name. So what how he specifically
Okay.
words it is he injects her. He says, "Goodbye, my love," or something like that, along the lines of "Goodbye, my love," and then separately says, "Goodbye, Alex." So first time watching it, I thought, okay,
Hmm.
Alex is girl. Second time watching it, I was like, is he saying goodbye to the wife first and then saying goodbye, Alex, as the son that he never had? And potentially is the guy that walked in that Billy saves, who is coincidentally his luckiest day of his life, is that Alex also? No, I'm going to say no real quick. I'm going to already shut that down because Sinatra specifically, I think, refers to Alex as a her
Hmm.
in the end of this episode. But those are just two things that I had thought of in this moment. So, yes, I agree. I'm primarily leading that the girl is Alex. She's dead, but there is a multiverse version of her that maybe we can consider, like, if we're using Marvel terms here, like a variant in our dimension that is working for whatever reason with Sinatra to create this multiverse thing. Again, I don't know how this is all going to play out, but I think it's connected. I don't think Alex is the son's name, which was a quick thought that I had.
And by son, you mean the mentee. He's not
Yeah,
the actual
not the
son.
actual son, correct. Yeah, the
Yeah.
mentee.
No, I mean, I'm with you. I still think Alex is the wife, but that would be a crazy twist and good writing if they did go that route and they made it ambiguous on purpose. But that's a good catch. I like everything that you're selling me now.
Hmm.
Hmm. And then I mean, Billy ends up killing him, shooting him in the head. That was expected. Where he's like, "Can you please just make it bang, blood everywhere?" That's how you always got to do it. I like Billy's line to the other scientist saying like, "It's not going to feel like it now, but this is the luckiest day of your life." He
Oh,
was totally going to kill him.
that shit went so hard. But
Yeah.
the conversation that the doctor or the scientist is having with Billy, I feel like this is gonna, like, we're gonna look back on that scene specifically and be like, holy shit, like that scene meant so much more for what it was worth, because he gets super like ambiguous, like existential. Remember when I asked you at the bar, like, are you, do you think things are predetermined, or do you think they just happen as chance? And then it comes back here full circle. He's like, I believe that you are where you need to be in this exact moment. And it's like, this show was never like that deep
Hmm.
until this episode and like this quote specifically, where it's like, what is this guy talking about? Like, we're just trying to survive an apocalypse, we're just trying to live underground. Like, what do you mean this predetermined fate? Like, this is going to be one of those scenes we're going to look back on, and this was like the trigger for everything almost. You know, this could be
Hmm.
almost that like point, that like this flash point of what is about to come from the multiverse.
From my like layman understanding of quantum entanglement, which is almost zero, that actually has some weight there. Where if in his mind, the scientist, like, this is where you need to be, things are all connected in that way. Like, you could sell it to me in some way that he knows more than he's letting on, like you're saying. So definitely more to
Is
look
it
out
also in
for.
his like title that it's like superposition was also mentioned? Isn't that like also another like multiversal term almost? Like I can't
Yeah, I mean
remember if
that's
it's,
like dark matter to a T and stuff
yeah,
like
I think
that.
there
But
was somewhat, I don't think it was this interaction. It's somewhere else. I can't remember exactly from my notes where it was mentioned, but superposition at a separate point in time besides
mhm.
quantum entanglement also gets mentioned, which is why I'm kind of thinking of these theories.
And let's take home the flashback here, which is Billy going to Sinatra and saying that the job is done. I loved this moment so damn much
Yes.
because in
Yes.
real life, this scene was like the second to last thing to happen. Versus now, we're kind of doing this at the earlier part of episode three.
Right.
But dude, this is why Sinatra is goated, man. Like when she says,
Yes.
"If I ever need you again, I'll just say this person needs a breath mint," and you just connect that right to what's happening in the modern day when she's doing the lie detector test to Jane. Holy shit, dude, that is good writing.
100%. Dude, Sinatra is just playing people like fools out here. She is so good at just, she can pick something up and she can just adapt so well. It's funny because I almost like was feeling sympathetic for Sinatra almost a little bit throughout the episode. Like we see her with her husband and her kid and like she's tired seemingly, and it's like I'm like slowly developing this sympathy for her, and then we get this realization that she
Yeah.
put the hit on the president. I'm like, okay, well now my sympathy is just out the window. This chick is just here for chaos, or maybe not. She's not here for chaos. She is just here for what she believes is right in such a strict manner that it just feels so evil. And that's why I just no longer feel sympathy for her. But like I was feeling it for a second. I was like, oh my God, Sinatra, like I feel bad for you. Oh, never mind. You're just like we had the opportunity to change you. Like I'm jumping the gun here a little bit, but like her and Gabby, I thought was like gonna be a moment for Sinatra to be like, yeah, good guys, let's go. And it's not at all. She's still gonna
No.
be the villain, which is perfect. No, I love her as the villain.
That's why she's so good, man. Kind of reminds you of Tommy Shelby a little bit. You feel for him, and then you remember he's a
Not
murderer.
in the physical looks,
Yeah.
but I totally am now seeing what you're putting down with like
Yeah,
aura wise.
definitely.
Last thing for the flashback, Billy's nosebleed when he comes across the mentee. I just wanted to bring it up in terms of when I watched it the first time, I thought it was something to do with Alex, like maybe, sorry, not Alex. The mentee had like some powers that when he walked into the room and Billy interacted with him, like that is what triggered the nosebleed. So I was almost in my head thinking like, is this mentee a catalyst for the nosebleeds? But then obviously Xavier was thinking of Link when he got his nosebleeds. So it's like, what specifically causes the nosebleeds? Like if we are going into this multi-dimensional thing, is it like when you reach a moment where something, I'm already kind of selling this on me. So like what if you get a nosebleed when you're like kind of forced with two choices? Like so Xavier in the plane would have either died in one reality or he would have lived in another. So he's getting a nosebleed because maybe he's just like crossing like realities. He's whatever. In this scene, maybe there was an outcome where Billy actually shot the mentee and like he was getting the nosebleed because he actually
Mhm.
didn't do it here. So it's just me theory crafting. I wanted to bring that up.
Lynx could have been forcing Annie to come with them versus
Yeah,
not. I don't
either
know.
he just dragged her with him or like actually did convince her to come with him or she stayed.
Left. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I
I like it. Could be tinfoily, but I like it.
definitely.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that one as really tinfoily.
All right, let's flow into what's happening in the modern day in Paradise City, and couple things that are just going on, which they just kind of cue you up with the first couple of scenes here, and that is like Sinatra wakes up after being in a coma for a month, so it's a month later.
Mhm.
President Baines, who was the previous vice president, is now in charge. He is who gets murdered by Jane in a horrific way by the end of the episode, who he had fodder written all over him, like he was not
Oh
going
yeah.
far at all. But some other things that are going on is Jeremy and all of his friends are starting almost a rebellion where they made Xavier the martyr and they're marking X everywhere. They're just trying to cause the society to kind of just shift because of everything that happened from season one. And I like that subplot going on in the background of what Jeremy's doing, and that's what I'm sure Presley's going to focus on. That's what everything to do with the secret police and the secret prison underground has going on for it. So that stuff's cool and it's a good setup. Then we have Agent Robinson. She's taking care of Xavier's kids at the same time investigating everything because she's not satisfied with the answer she got from Cal and Billy and Xavier. All of that. She's going to be the person on the inside that we're going to ride for, even though she gets blamed at the end here. So she has some obstacles she has to overcome, but just good stuff all around. When Sinatra wakes up, Jane comes in acting her ass off, both as like an actual actor, but like in character, like just
Yes.
everything she says. She is the definition of a psychopath in the best way possible. Like she is the spice that this show needs so badly.
You could feel the electricity in the eyes, like in the anime when they're just zapping, and it's
Hmm.
just because they're going back and forth bar for bar, you know, like if you were to remember, and Sinatra's like, well, if I were to remember, you know, I'll be sure to do something about it or something like that. Whatever she says, it
Yeah.
was just
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so great. But agreed. I really like Jeremy's plot. The one thing, can you just remind me like what the Red X is for?
It's Xavier's name. It's like it's just supposed like
Oh, just like a
X, like
reminder.
Xavier.
Okay.
Like take the establishment down, and like they're stealing, and they're not trusting the police and all those good things. And I think
Okay.
like Jeremy's almost like the face of it, or at least a huge part of what set it into motion. And that's what Presley's storyline is going to be related to. And they have that little subplot with James and Presley with the messaging. I like the
Yeah.
passing of the messaging.
Yes, that's
uh
smart.
but like James screws her over, which then ends up actually saving Presley, because then Presley and Jeremy aren't together when Jeremy gets picked up by the police. So it kind
Yeah,
of
so
worked
I
out.
was a little confused on that too. So like was the plan for both of them to get arrested, or was the plan like going to be he fills her in on what's about to happen, then he solo gets arrested? So I was like a little confused on like, oh, was he just going to throw her under the bus too? Like they both just get arrested at the
Maybe
same
she
time?
wanted to be part of it. I don't know yet. Like, is her goal next episode going to be, I need to go save Jeremy, or is she in the know and says, I need to get myself arrested so I can go down there and do the plan? I think it could be either. I
Mhm.
didn't get enough of like a vibe check on it though.
Yeah, and the last comment I have for the Jeremy stuff, are you getting like Lizan Al Gaib vibes in terms of like he also kind of looks like Timothy Chalamet a little bit with the hairstyle? So I'm just like, anytime he's being rebellious, I'm just like Lizan Al Gaib, Lizan Al Gaib.
I like it. I like it. They don't have too much to do this episode, those
No.
characters that we just went through. So moving along, we got to talk about the board meeting with the president and all the powerful people in the room, because this is when everything comes out about
Yes.
the siphoning of the power to the secret project that Sinatra has. They can't question her yet because she's just waking up, but you get an entire feeling of what the situation is, where this president is not under control. Like he's like, the second she wakes up, you tell me. They're like, yeah, she woke up like 2 days ago. Sorry, bro. And like the energy scientist in the room from season one gets pissed about the
Anders.
whole situation. Like you can't freaking just grab more energy to make a fake summer. Like we're at the end of the line here. So like I like this character a lot. What's his sorry, I didn't write his name down. Anders.
Anders.
Yeah, he is fantastic. I like him too. That's who Jeremy goes to, and he's going to be a power player in that plot line going forward.
I also like the addition of Anders being like a bigger player because in season one, we obviously knew that he was a part, and to his credit, he claims that he built all of Paradise, and in season one, he's kind of built to be like this lunatic almost. Like we know that you have the knowledge, but you also just kind of seem like this theory guy that is just blowing smoke out his butt most of the time. But to
Mhm.
see him actually be right and try and actually voice, like he lays into the president and he's like, you are such an idiot. And I was laughing
Yeah.
at that. That was so good because the president 100 Baines was 100% just an idiot, and there was no he had no reason besides in name alone of being vice president to be president. So
hmm
total fodder. Looking back, it's obviously clear that he had death signs over him, but it's easy to say that when we know he's dead. But that was a
hmm
great scene there from Anders, and I think he will absolutely be a bigger role in all this later on.
Calls out the fascism right there. It's like, oh, is this where I get arrested now? And they,
Yeah,
take him downstairs, and he crosses paths with Jeremy. That is going to be something I'm looking forward to
for sure.
the most in Paradise. Like whatever that turns into, it's going to be end game level stuff. So I'm excited for
Mhm.
that. So let's flash over to Sinatra being a normal human being for once, and like laying on her husband and watching TV and stuff. It felt jarring to me because that's just not her, but she's playing into it like she loves it. Like she's like, oh, it's kind of nice I don't have this, while she has all these plans going. But then I think that's when Jane shows up. They talk again. But then what ends up happening is she gets brought to go do the lie detector test right from here. And
Mhm.
this is just such a good scene as well. Like it's tough to talk about because there's so much cutting back and forth to flashbacks and modern day. But like as we're going through it, I guess really like the next thing that happens is, and she goes hard at her with questions when they're in the room. Just everything, like do you have a secret project going on? And like this whole time Sinatra's keeping her calm, and Baines is just in the other room losing her mind, but Sinatra knows that like this is all happening. So it's just like a really really cool moment.
Yeah, this is just more for us to just gas up Sinatra and how awesome she is as a villain, because clearly lie detector tests aren't going to work here because she obviously was lying. She knew that she was siphoning power, but she still could work her way around it.
She's like Azula.
Oh, yeah. I'm a pink elephant with long,
Purple.
yeah,
Wasn't
purple elephant. Yeah.
he?
And Toph's just like, you're good. I'll admit it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, just amazing scene from Sinatra here. Just total villain vibes. Just absolutely love her. And to see her with her husband, like, I think I saw this on Twitter. Someone had like maybe brought up the idea that like they think that Sinatra's husband and like son or daughter that we see there are like industry plants, like they're not actually her husband and
Mhm.
child, which like I don't know if I agree with it yet. But every time she is with them, it has felt like awkward almost, like it
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
feel real. And even when they were in the hospital, I was like, who are these people? Like they hadn't made a big enough impact on me from season one for me to like vividly remember, like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
Sinatra's husband and Sinatra's kid. So
Well, she did have the tragic backstory with her kid that passed. That was more important to her character, and it stuck with me. Like, she was doing everything to save her dying child. So she gets poked at, like, verbal
mhm.
sparring in this
and
episode
and
about that.
maybe
Yeah.
it is because of the passing of her child that things are maybe awkward at the household, but it would be crazy if like they weren't actually, her real husband and child. Not that I would know what happened to her real family, but
No,
something I
I
definitely
think it
felt.
is.
Yeah, I think it
I
is
would
too, but it does feel awkward when seeing her be in like a homey atmosphere.
Mhm. And let me clean up something. I was mixing 2 scenes that were not super important. It's why it got confusing when I was trying to
Mhm.
narrate that. Sinatra was waking up. Jane was the one that went to her and took her straight to the lie detector test. Now Sinatra is at her house acting like a normal person. For the sake of editing, which it's going to be tough to edit around that, so we're just going to leave it as is. Sorry for the confusion there. Little peek behind the scenes. So after she passes the lie detector test, passes, on her way out is when she drops the line, that man could use a breath mint. And I just fucking love it. I love it so goddamn much, dude. That is perfect.
It's funny because Jane like laughs at it. So when you
Mhm,
first hear it, I'm like, oh, is like Jane trying to kiss ass Sinatra again or whatever by laughing at her joke. But no, it's just Jane acknowledging that she needs to take out this motherfucker. So looking back on that scene, it
mhm.
is so badass. It is so
And the
cool.
laugh by Jane, it just plays right into her psychotic
Oh,
personality.
I'll
Yeah.
kill. I'll kill a
Yeah,
little bit.
exactly. So now we can go back to the reason of why I mentioned Gabby, and that is when Sinatra's hanging out with her family under house arrest. Gabby shows up to have that nostalgic conversation about their past. I clocked this right away. I wanted this reveal of her bugging the house to be next episode, so I could have taken credit
Mhm.
for guessing it because I said right to my girlfriend, I was like, that
Good
is bugged.
guess.
There's no way.
Good
Yeah.
guess. I took it as I got hook, line, and sinkered into it. I totally thought it was an apology, or at least like not apology. She's not the one that needs to apologize, but I thought it was going to be like a let's make up and be friends again kind of thing. But I
Mhm.
really like from Gabby that she said you're untreatable, basically. Like I can't help you anymore, and she all but gets that validation from overhearing everything that Sinatra is doing behind the scenes. So good for
And
Gabby to do that.
let's talk about what she overhears because that kind of happens next for Sinatra, which is the conversation we alluded to earlier about Sinatra's housemaid caring for Alex. And what I have written down is she's getting closer. Like vague statement, but whatever that means is
Estimate
going
is
to
getting
be
closer.
the estimate is getting closer.
Yes, and that's when Sinatra replies, "Closer will have to do," or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
I'm
Okay.
taking it as,
Yeah.
like, scientific calculations. I'm not taking it as, like, a monetary estimate, like, we're not, like, guessing prices of something here. I think it's, like, more of like, an energy estimate or something like that with the power is what I took away from it. But the maid
Hmm.
is aware of Alex as well, and this is gonna sound crazy again. So remember how I mentioned that I thought Alex could have also been the mentee for a second?
Yeah.
I'm still going to shut this down, but to kind of lean into it a little bit more, when Sinatra asks Carmen the maid, she says, "How's Alex?" And I'm like, why the fuck would Carmen know Alex? And I'm in my head thinking, oh my God, is Alex Carmen's son? And basically, Sinatra is just like keeping the mentee close by because obviously she needs him, or at least like she's keeping this woman nearby because she's obviously like the mother of this Alex character. But again, shutting it down, they say
Mhm.
she. So can't
And
really call that, but I was in this moment. I'm like, is Alex a guy that is Carmen's son, and is Alex the one that we saw in the past? I don't think it's going to be as simple as that, but the guy we
yeah, no,
saw in the
I
past
like
will
where your
come back.
head's at. I just feel like the way they were talking about Alex, I didn't get son from that, but
Mhm.
I like where your head's at. You're guessing all over the place, and I think something's gonna stick. So,
Yeah.
okay, I really only have a couple more things we got to go through here. We're making decent time. I would say that the next thing we should just quickly discuss is everything to do with Agent Robinson, where she's digging into the past. She's looking at hidden files and she sees everything that's like redacted around Billy and Jane and all these things. She's starting to question what's going on. She takes what happens next, which is when Jane decides to go on the run with the president, where she plans on taking him out because of Sinatra's message. Agent Robinson goes to Jane's house and where Billy and Jane used to live, and she starts connecting the dots. You see her flashing, her mind flashing to the files that she was reading and statements and things that were contradictory. Like she sees, oh, Billy always had like this crazy shoulder pain, but then you see the barbells in the
Mhm.
gym that's there, like clearly he was working out. Then you see he had nothing to live for, but then she finds the hidden ring that he was going to propose to Jane with. All of this isn't adding up to her, so she realizes that Jane is the problem. But unfortunately, because the president decides that he wants to go on a run without any protection, this is when everything goes down. And then, even more unfortunately, the timing of it all, Jane slits his throat, gets the location of all the agents, sees that Agent Robinson's coming, knocks her out, places the blade in her hand. Just fantastic performance all around for Team Sinatra and Jane.
Jane, 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 you sly dog, just getting
Mhm.
away with everything. Her acting ability in the
He's like,
show
oh
as
my God,
well.
oh my
Yeah.
God.
Pisses me off, but in like such a good way where it's like someone needs to out her already and just deal with her
Yeah.
before she does anything more crazy for more than just a we. But I will say I visibly like eye rolled when Agent Robinson found the ring. I'm like, oh my god, like of course she finds the ring in this like cushion that's like third shelf up behind
Yeah.
something. I'm like, okay, whatever. Agent Robinson's definitely been growing on me. I don't think I was a big fan of her in season one, but that was just again mostly because she was working against Xavier. She assumed that Xavier was the killer. Xavier, for a brief moment, thought she was the killer. So there was like some tension there, and so I was never like a big fan of Robinson. But now seeing her obviously be the closest one to Xavier probably in this moment. Like she's now responsible for the children, and she has, even though she got demoted, she still is the closest one that is able to follow Jane, Sinatra, and keep tabs on all of them. So I've definitely been enjoying Robinson's. I think is her first name Nicole. I think I wrote it down maybe, but
I
Agent
just have
Robinson,
Agent Robinson. Yeah.
Agent Robinson, her turnaround for me has been money. I've been really liking her this season.
Her actor is Chris Marshall, and I came in biased of loving her because she is one of the main characters on the Apple TV show For All Mankind. If you've ever
Mm,
heard me talk about that, that's
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, just like parallel history of like space travel. If the Russians beat us to the moon, she is one of the main astronauts in that entire show, and she's fantastic. So I came into Paradise already liking her a lot. It's unfortunate where she finds herself right now. I feel like she is at the bottom of the barrel right now. She's gonna probably be thrown right into the secret prison along with Jeremy and Anders. Yeah, I think she's gonna be put right down there, and then that could be like their storyline as those three characters working together to figure out what's happening and spark some revolution down there.
I also love the touch from Jane that she used the president's blood to mark an X on his back to make it even more paint the picture of Nicole and Xavier are planning this rebellion. They've been planning X's all over the place, and now she just did it with the president to like say like we're doing this rebellion. So I thought that was like a really like another extra nice touch from Jane. curse her
Mhm.
for being so good at her job.
Yeah, man. I mean, claps all around. Fantastic 3 episodes to start season 2. I'm happy we'll get to breathe a little bit when we go over episode 4 and Kathleen joins the podcast because I want to hear her takes on all of this. I'm ready to see if your predictions about time travel manifest in any way. I cannot wait to see what else Jane and Sinatra get up to. And then the prison downstairs is going to be awesome. We get to see what's going on with Jeremy. And then we, of course, have to spend half the time, I'm assuming, flashing over to Xavier and Annie. There's just so many balls in the air right now, and I love everything. Like, I don't think there's a setting that they're going to show me that I'm not going to be locked in for.
I forgot how much I love this show. I mean, so season one obviously was totally in love with it. Me and you were absolutely loving it. And then it's been so long that it kind of crept away from me. I forgot about it as a TV show almost a little bit. And then you hear the announcement for season two and you're like, okay, like I'm excited, but you go back and you're kind of rewatching the recaps and you're rewatching certain episodes and you're like, damn, like this is good. And then we get introduced to an episode like episode 3. My feelings for this show are like rapidly
Mm-hmm.
increasing, and from like it being maybe like a B tier show at the start of season or like like through season 1 to like definitely pushing like an A tier show for me that I am genuinely super excited to cover each week. Like Hijack is one that I'm covering with Jimmy on the Core podcast. If you want to check that out, guys, we're covering all thing Apple TV over there. But that is like a thriller show and it's been enjoyable, but like how I feel watching this thriller is
Different
just
level.
another level of like
Mm-hmm.
I need to watch the next episodes. Whereas Hijack, it's like I can watch the next one, like I'm excited, but not to this extent.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going hard with the marketing. Like, it's unfortunate that it's Hulu because Hulu is probably one of the lower streaming services that goes viral.
I hope with the Disney package, like I now
It'll
get
have
Hulu because of Disney, and I hope because a lot of people have Disney that they can now get access to Paradise. Because I don't think this merger might not have been a thing when it first released, or maybe it was like
No,
in the
definitely
early
not.
process. Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, the marketing, I'm seeing it outside of Hulu, like being marketed, which is
it
nice.
deserves it.
Like I said, Sterling K. Brown, he can be the top billing of any show or movie, and it should sell theaters because he's so damn good. The only thing that these 3 episodes were missing was the song. We built this city.
Yeah, I forgot that that was this show. Oh my god, totally. We needed that. Now that you reminded me, I'm going to be looking for
Yeah.
it every single episode now.
Shout out to Michael Pittman.
Yeah. Deep cut if you know that one.
Yeah.
Deep cut.
But I think that's it. I'm ready for you to sign us out. I'm beyond excited to continue this coverage. The saddest part about us doing 3 episodes is that means that just skipped us ahead 3 weeks of what we could have had to theory craft. Because like if this was
Yes.
split out week by week, but whatever. I'm not going to complain because I'm just so happy with the product.
Completely agree. All right. That's going to be it for our season 2, episodes 1 to 3 coverage of Paradise on Disney Hulu Plus. If you guys like what you heard, be sure to check out all of our socials at Bingetown TV. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We also have our growing Discord channel that has a lot of people coming in talking to us about the shows that we are currently covering, as well as shows that they want us to watch. We love chatting with you guys and interacting with all of you. So definitely come join us. We have a blast there. Lastly, we have a couple other podcast channels that cover different TV shows as well. First, being the Core podcast I mentioned a few minutes ago, that covers all Apple TV shows, currently covering Hijack. And did it wrap up Shrinking or currently covering Shrinking? Either way.
Shrinking is about not. It might be halfway. It's still got some
Okay.
time. Yeah.
So still covering Shrinking. So definitely check that out. I'm over there. Luke's over there. Definitely going to get some good things there. Obviously, subscribe to us on the Bitch Empire, this podcast channel here. We're covering a lot of things right now. We just wrapped up Knights of the Seven Kingdom. I think we're covering industry as well right now.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the last one we have is going to be the Final Form podcast. That is currently covering Jujutsu Kaisen with me. Again, busy season for your boy and Kyle and our friend of the pod, Alki. So once again, though, this is the Binge Empire podcast. And thank you so much for listening.